Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in another week. If you are listening via any of your podcast apps, thank you so much. If you're watching via YouTube, hello. This will probably be the last time I'm looking directly into the camera because I want to look at my beautiful guest's face. So she used to have a different type of podcast, and her co-host, Hey Janelle, were on before. Now she has a different type of podcast called Horror Hughes. Miss Shanika Pichey. Now, and I said it like that because I was always in my mind saying the last name wrong. And then she said Pichey, and I was like, oh, that's like a beautiful dish or something. That's what it sounds like. She is funny, smart, well-versed. Not only does she talk about the Bravo things, but her podcast, Horror Hughes, basically talks about Black people in these horror films, and she talks about it from a Black woman's perspective. What she doesn't know is I was supposed to reach out to her, but I'm just going to do it now. On the mic is 2 weeks ago, and I think I did a video the night that I was going on YouTube. I was getting ready to go to a dinner for my cousin in Delaware. I live in Maryland. And so fast forward, we get to the dinner, and my cousin I had a cousin whose birthday it was. Her older sister bakes cakes. She is amazing, can do any type of cake you want, whatever you want. So the restaurant allowed her to bring it in. So the waiter brings out the cake. And my husband's family is a singing family. And when I tell y'all, I don't mean just sing, I mean a singing family. So not just him and his two other brothers and three sisters. I'm talking all of the first cousins, all of his aunts and uncles, his mom and dad. They're like a singing family. So of course, the cousins are there. They start singing happy birthday. And I, always trying to promote something, the waiter was like, oh my gosh, that was so good. And then I said, hey, they're available for bookings if you ever need somebody to come to the restaurant to sing. You can contact me. And he goes, wait, for real? And I was like, yeah. And y'all looking at Shanika's face, she's probably like, okay, how does this got to do with me? I'm about to tell you. So he goes, oh, I host a podcast. I talk about a lot of different things, and he's getting ready to discuss Sister Act 2, and he wanted a live choir to sing behind him for a little bit. But the basis of his podcast is horror films. And I said, I have a friend, and I talked about your podcast, and I would like to connect you to. He was like, oh my God, absolutely. Yes. And then when he found out that my cousin made the cake, he was like, we can also do an ad for your business on the podcast. Let me know your rates. So I just loved how it all came together. But I was talking to him about your podcast and about how I thought, House of Usher was about Usher, the singer.
Yes.
And so
I have a text to share with you about that.
That is so funny. So he wants to connect with you to talk about. So I'd say that because I love when stuff like that happens. Like here I am at a restaurant in Delaware, jokingly, not really jokingly, because you just never know who needs what or who knows who. So it's easy for me to put other people out there before I put myself out there sometimes. But here I am throwing out, hey, if you need a singer, he's like, yeah, but and then he just tells me his podcast is about horror films. And I'm like, I just did for the first time ever. A very good podcast. So I have to send you all his information afterwards. So
thank you.
Y'all make sure you go check out Horror Hughes. I'm going to put all the links to the description.
Yes. Horror Hughes. I'll send all my info over. So I heard part of the story when you were talking with Hannah, because you talked about it. And I was like, did she just say my name? And it's so funny. So I'm in, the only reason why I use Facebook, because I'm in a bunch of Facebook groups, and one of them is focused on movies. And I had just seen, like it was coming out Friday, but my son and I went to go see it Thursday. We saw the Hunger Games prequel, because we both read the book. And I was just like, so we go in, then we'll talk about like movies that we've seen or, what we think is good. And someone's like, by the way, I was catching up with Taria's latest podcast and I heard your name and I almost dropped a dish. And I was just like, I was pretty shocked when I heard my name as well. So. And from there, they're like, I forgot you had a podcast. Tell me what it is so I can subscribe to it again. So
see, I love how that works. Listen, we all have to support each other, and especially when we look like each other in these spaces, we definitely have to. So again, y'all, it's Horror Hughes, Hughes, right? Yes. Because of the hue
Yes.
of
Well,
our skin,
it's
right?
kind of a play off of it because there's people that will put together, like, say, the color red, and they will pull scenes from horror movies that had like different shades of red in it. So they talk about the hues in horror. But for me, it's
Okay.
like the hues of being like a Black woman and just having my opinion. So it's a play off of that.
And y'all, I am not one, and y'all go check out our episode and all of Shanika's other episodes. I am not
Yes.
one to watch stuff like that. And I told her, my kids, so I swear it's a gene, not just singing, because my kids do too, but with the movie gene, they love movies. And I am a reader. I haven't read a book in a long time, which sometimes I'm like, you need to slow down and get back to that. But we would go to my in-laws' house, and a way to spend time together, even in my own house, we would all be downstairs and they'd be watching a movie. I'd be reading my book. And my father-in-law once said, I wish I could be like that, how you can just tune everything out. Because my book, for me, probably does the same thing that movies do for you. For me, ever since I was a little girl, books allowed me to experience a whole nother world than what I was in. So, but I was telling Shanika that I'm not a horror person. And so when Corey puts on them movies, I'm like, the blood of Jesus.
I know.
In it.
But I still think the ones that I told you about,
Yes.
give them
Name
a
them,
chance.
please.
So it's Ready or Not. So Kara Berry and I, we just did a recap of that one last week.
I'm gonna
and then
because I love
the other one is called You're Next, and I did a solo recap, and that one just came out yesterday. Yeah. So, but I would say Ready or Not over You're Next. That's the movie that I always suggest to the non-horror fan, because to me, it's not really scary. I mean, it's kind of gory, but it's funny as well, just because, like I said, it has like that rich white family dynamic. So, I think that's funny too. So.
And then we discovered, Shanika knew I wasn't lying, because I told her like the last time, I watched
we think it might be the Friday the 13th part 7.
Yes.
And that is the one, for those who watch, is with Tina, who had like, I cannot remember, like when you can control things with your mind. What's it called?
Telepathy? Is that telepathy?
I can't remember, but anyway, she, you know, like the Halloween, the Friday 13th movies, they were on one after a while, but because you're like, yeah, a girl was in the woods, and I'm like, well, that's all of them. But I remember, I think it's that one specifically where Jason zips up a girl in a sleeping bag and like knocks her against a tree and kills her instantly. And so it was part 7 then.
It was crazy. I was at I've already told my age 1,000 times, but middle school. It was like late middle school, get ready to be in. I don't think I was in high school yet. Sleepover with my friends, and they were all excited, and I had to act like I was excited. And then my only saving grace was like, if somebody come up in here, they're gonna kill all of us, or I'll be able to get out before.
Right.
Because there's a lot of us girls here. So yeah, Shanika, y'all, she had me talking about Get Out, which again, I know it's not scary, but it's suspenseful. And me watching a movie the whole time with my butt clenched where it could snatch a brick out of a wall, good for the glutes, but not for like my stomach and stuff. And like, I don't want my cortisol to get up, and I'm working on my stomach, you know, so
I get it.
Stress.
I have a breath work technique I can send to you.
Okay. Y'all, she got me breathing, doing breath work.
Breath work is important. I get it. So when I used to watch The Walking Dead, when it first came out, like I would just like always feel like a tightness in my chest because we talked about it, how zombies, how of all things, those are like the most realistic. And that was like with me too. And I'm like, God, what would happen? What would I do if I was in like that situation? So,
and you're like, oh my God.
But I always say I have no fight in me. I'm like a mid-season finale kill, or I'm like a 1-episode kill. You don't even learn my name. Like I'm just gone. Like
I am like, it's either gonna be you or me, and I'm gonna try everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to call upon my ancestors like they did in Alabama on the 5th of, what was that? On the 5th of, when did that happen? August?
Oh, right. Was that August 6th?
August,
right?
6th, which is,
was it? Yeah.
I have to say this again, because an hour before that brawl broke out, there were beautiful Black women wearing white and pink, and they were speaking to the ancestors. I think the word is venerating. I'm not sure if so. correct me
Mm-hmm.
if I'm wrong, but basically they were speaking to the ancestors and acknowledging them and throwing flowers on that water. And then
Oh,
what happened an hour
wow.
later? So for
Well,
me, if somebody's coming after me, I'm willing the spirit of the ancestor. Y'all got the
that could be
thing.
like the premise of a horror movie right there.
It actually, it actually
I'm just saying, why not?
You know what? That would be good. Well, in addition to Shanika being an expert in horror, she is
Mm-hmm.
also a yoga teacher. It's been a while
Yes.
since you've been on, so I just wanted to bring that
Mm-hmm.
up again.
Yes.
And what I love about it is you are a face that looks like me.
Yes. Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes some of our concerns and some of the way that we hold our stresses in because we have to in certain workplaces, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to have an outlet. So you saying breath work is a big deal. I don't even know if I said it on the last podcast you were on, but actually it's been a while. But for the last 6 or 7 months, I will have moments of anxiousness out of nowhere. And I'm a person that would always be like, I don't get stressed. I don't get stressed. Stress don't, like I just deal with it and go. But having your body almost betray you where you're like, what's happening? I don't know what's going on in my stomach. So I had taken to kind of just, sometimes even if I was out in public, I would try to find a space and kind of go,
Yeah.
I felt
Mm-hmm.
centered when I did that. So
Yeah.
talk
I
about
tell people that all the
that.
time. So, and Lord, I could make this whole podcast about breathing. People think, you have to be sitting there, like holding your fingers like this, saying Om,
Yeah.
and be completely quiet the mind. I know that I'm deep into my meditation or my Shavasana, which is the corpse pose, is like when the thoughts just race through my head, like a highway, just goes. But I tell people all the time, I'm like, next time you're at the grocery store and you're waiting in a line, just find something to look at. Like if it's like a candy bar or like a magazine, just pinpoint on something and then just breathe consciously in through the nose, out through the nose, and just like count.
Out
and
through the nose too, not the mouth.
So it depends on what you're trying to get. So a lot of times when people do, a lot of times they're like, and they let it out too quickly. Like you really want to try to even it out. And in yoga, we have I'm trying not to get too geeked out, but with your breath. So your breath, how you want to visualize it, it starts at your sacrum, your base. So think of kind of like your perineum area of, and then you go all the way up. So think of your spine as kind of like an elevator. So you're starting at the base, your sacrum, and then you're going all the way up to your forehead. Okay. So like the penthouse, okay? And then as you're exhaling, you want to visualize it going back down. Wow. So it really kind of depends on what you are trying to get out of it. So I like to say in through the nose, out through the nose, because that is the best one. That's diaphragmatic breathing. So that's like that deep belly breathing. And that's the one that's really going to soothe you. A lot of times when people are exhaling, like I said, they exhale out too quick and let all their breath out in the beginning. And if you are going through a yoga class or something, sometimes that can be go against what you're trying to do with the pose. It all depends on if you're doing like a vinyasa flow. So if you're going quick, or if you're doing like a hatha, so you stay in it a little bit longer or whatever. But I usually say in through the nose, out through the nose. There are ones that you can go out of the mouth. And there's also one where you inhale through the mouth with the tongue. Oh,
wow.
And then that's actually a really good cooling breath during the summer. And I have a video on my Instagram, and I'm actually going to do a video. It's called a skull shining breath, where it's like quick exhales throughout the nose, but you're also contracting your abdomens at the same time. And that's a really good one to like internally bring the fire in your body. Cause my whole thing is like, it's cold right now. So let's change up our breathing techniques. Because within yoga throughout, as the seasons, the times change, you want to change up the flows you're doing, the breath that you're using, and all of that. So, and then I also,
no idea.
Yeah, I told you I can geek out about it. And then also I just like to suggest people in through the nose, out through the nose, because that's the quickest way that you can kind of like self-soothe and calm yourself. Okay. Because I take karate, and a lot of the adults in the class, like when they're like, after we're done with something, they're like,
yes.
And I'm like,
yes.
You guys have got, I was like, no, y'all are not going to calm yourselves down. You're not going to catch your breath in enough time. So it's really hard to breathe properly. We do not breathe properly at all in this country because we are told to like suck it in. And it's actually supposed to be the quite opposite. When you are inhaling, you're supposed to expand, which means your belly is supposed to expand as well. But, you know, this is America and we all have our disorder with our bodies and looks and everything. And, you know, we don't want things to expand. We want everything tight.
Yeah.
Which also can sometimes, like we are sucking it in and holding it, can lead to a lot of tension in the shoulders. And, you know, it's like all connected. So
it's interesting because I think about weightlifting and I remember being taught before to push up on the inhale and bring down on the out. But then I remember reading, actually, you need to push up on the exhale, like lift on the exhale and bring it down on the, like the opposite of what. So basically, if I'm lifting a weight, I should be pushing up as I'm breathing out and then bringing it down as I'm breathing in. So I guess it, like you said, I wonder too, if it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. For me, when I started,
it does.
Go ahead. So it all depends on.
It does, and it depends on the poses and whatnot. Because you know, in yoga, you inhale to expand. You want to take up space, so you know, you inhale to come to standing. But if I'm exhaling to fold forward, I'm going to draw my navel in towards my spine to create that space, so I can fold deeper into myself. Does that make sense?
Yes, I like how you can inhale to take up, because you know you're going to take up space. For some reason, I just thought about walking into rooms. Take a deep breath in first. That way you go in and you command your space. I like that. For when I started running years ago, I learned in through the nose, out through the mouth. And it was like a pattern. And now when I run, if I feel my body like losing control of my breathing, because once you control your breathing, you can actually go further than you thought. For me, I don't necessarily go for time. Now I'm shooting to be able to do it because I'm just getting back into it again, and then it gets cold. So I've had my off and ons with it, and I had to change my language to how I spoke about it because I was training. I did 3 half marathons. My second one was my best, ran the whole 13, didn't stop.
Nice.
But I learned how to breathe, and it was in through the nose, out through the mouth, but it was to a beat like, so with my breathing in. And so now when I get out of control with my body like that, I've learned how to bring it in if I'm doing cardiovascular activity.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to try to do it on the slide, depending on what cardio activity. Wait a minute, Corey.
Listen, let's take it there real quick. The next time you're having sexy time, seriously, take a moment to center yourself and bring your breath down, like to your spine.
My vagina? Oh, to my spine.
Yes. Well, down to the spine. Yes. To the vagina, to where the pleasure point is. I promise. Just like take that focus there. I'm
gonna do it. So she gonna be down there just breathing, taking it all in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So I want to
tell people all the time, I'm like, if I wanted to F around and find out, I could probably like start a sex cult. Like I could just like, you know, I mean, listen, it's there.
You might need to drop some videos. You dropping breath.
No, I have too much of like a good conscience, and I don't want to avoid taxes. So, you know, like I don't want to go to jail.
It doesn't have to be a cult. You can drop knowledge videos.
That's true. I could. You know?
And maybe monetize.
I thought about it. I know. I've thought about it. I do need to come back to it. But I mean, yeah, like when you are having your sexy time, because you know we're all over the place just thinking about this and that, and do I look good,
and trying to center your mind, because sometimes,
and it's like, who cares? It's like, you know, it's already in. Like obviously they're fine with how you look, you know.
That's like, so enjoy the moment.
So literally just take that moment and just like take that breath and just come back to and take that focus to like where it is.
Okay. I'll report back.
Okay. Yes, please do. Text me after. Thumbs up from Ben. Just kidding.
Right. Hey, girl. Wait, no, it has to be, because 2 thumbs up is F you per Heather Gay, the first season of Salt Lake City, right?
Oh God. Okay.
So, but real quick before we get into Bravo, I want to ask you, as far as you studying all of this and studying yoga, was it because and I know the answer to this, but I'm asking for people who may not.
Mm-hmm.
Was it because your love of yoga and you not seeing enough women who look like you leading these classes?
Yes. So, I'll just do like a quick brief, like how I got into it. So I'm 40. So I got into it like
Come
really
on,
into my
Black don't
early,
crack.
I got into it into my early 20s. And like many people, I got into it for the physical. I was like very fascinated by how people can contort their bodies, and just like how strong the body could be. And then, back then when you're younger and you're limber, I'm like, oh, I just do yoga to stretch because I hate to stretch. And it's funny, I also offer assisted stretching now.
I'm going to need a video for that because I'm bad.
Yeah, I was going to actually suggest, since you do run, a good yoga for you would be yin yoga, and you hold the poses a little bit longer.
Ooh, okay.
That's like a good one. It's a one that like a lot of like athletes need to do because like, think of like the yin and yang of it. So yang is very active, go, go, go. So you need to bring that yin in.
Okay.
So yeah, so even people who like to do like the vinyasa, ashtanga style yoga, it's like good to counterpart it.
Okay.
So, I, held off doing my teaching, oh, money, this and that, just making excuses for myself. And then eventually it's like, you know what, I'm going to do it. And then I happened to do it at the time when I was in the midst of a divorce. So I was like, well, look at that universe.
Right.
So, there's that one time when I thought I was going to have to quit the program just because things were volatile, but I made it through. And I actually started in 2019. And we were finishing up in 2020. So we were supposed to finish up in April, but COVID happened.
Yes.
So our last 1 or 2 weekends, because we met 1 weekend per month, were via Zoom. And it was so funny because I remember, I think it was like either that January, December, because you're exhausted. Like it's a commitment. It's a time commitment. It's a money commitment. Right. It's a lot, that's another thing. The respect, like 200 hours is no easy feat. That's 200 hours that I'm there with a facilitator. That's not on top of the extra classes I've had to take, the books I've had to read, just like all the self-studying, Okay. I'm like, think about it. Like you go to college for 4 years to get 60 credits, I'm like, we're knocking out like 200 hours and like,
right.
And because it's become so like whitewashed and such like a thing, it's just not respected. I think it should be covered under insurance. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, so it was like that last time we were in the studio together, and I was like, you know what? I need to just sit here and appreciate this because this is almost over. And I really need to give like flowers to myself for taking time as like a single mom to commit to something for me. And like the next month, like I said, COVID like had shut things down. So like I said, our graduation got extended, and then the whole Black Lives Matter thing happened. And then I just got really disheartened because I saw people that, when you're in the trainings, you start Facebook friending them and to keep up with studies, and, you think you like these people. And so,
girl.
So one of the people that are in the class, she was like, I just got to get this off my chest. But, and she was like, what happened to, all lives matter? And, she's a cis white woman. She's just like, I'm gay and I'm scared to go out and with my wife and hold her hands and da 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 da. And she said all this stuff. I usually don't respond to these things, but I was like, crack knuckles. I was like, usually I don't respond to these type of things, but since we went through an experience together, I will have a conversation with you. See you at graduation. And how about this? I actually got my 200 hour on my birthday.
That is
so the
awesome.
Graduation was on my birthday. So we had a conversation, and I was like, well, you said what happened to All Lives Matter. I'm like, do you remember a time when all lives mattered? And she was like, oh. And I was like, yes, I do understand that you as a gay woman can go to certain places, and if y'all hold hands, there's going to be an issue. I was like, but I can't hide who I am. I was like, if you and I walk into a place, I'm going to get the looks. And then we had even talked about it within the training because the whole Dylan Roof situation that had happened down here in Charleston, I was like, and someone had asked me about it. It was like a white lady, because it was surprisingly, it was 2 other Black people in the class with me, which I was shocked. And she was just like, well, how would you guys, treat me, if I was to come in. And I was like, honestly, I was like, a lot of times when you guys, I was like, well, look at when Dylan Roof came into that space. No one bothered him.
They
That one guy
embraced
who was
him.
like, they embraced him, who was 26. He's like Snapchatting, like, Wednesday night, with God, just having the time of his life. Nobody bothered him.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, but if I was to go into your church, like I couldn't even make it through before I'm getting like the shakedown and like a million questions, and I was just like, whether you guys realize it or not, I was like, as a white person, you have that privilege that no matter what space you step into, y'all are having expectations to be treated well. Whereas when we are stepped into a certain place, we don't have those expectations. We have to be on our P's and Q's. We have to stay woke, okay? Because that's what it really means.
That's what it really means when people...
That's another one that kills me down here.
Yeah, it's like, you don't know what stay woke and stay up and keep your head up means. You don't really know what all of that means, right? So
that happened. The killings were happening. And then, the major gaslighting that the yoga community loves to do is love and light. And they love to say that they practice ahimsa, which is like non-violence, but actually staying quiet to the violence is violent. You're ahimsa when you don't want to eat meat. You're ahimsa when you don't want to talk bad about your body or other people. But like when Black people are being wrongfully killed, or, for example, what's happening right now, in Gaza, like it's love and light and it's ahimsa all of a sudden. Like
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I got you. Okay.
That's like, y'all are taking the non-violence too literal, you know what I mean? Because there's another one too, it's called about like self-attachment, and this is how cults start, honestly, in the yoga community, because they're like self-attachment. So like, you don't need your possessions, you don't need your goods, sell them to me so we can build this ashram, and we can all live together in harmony, and you only need the clothes off your back and stuff. Whereas they're driving around in like Corvettes and like having the time of their life, and you're struggling because you're practicing like self-attachment. And
okay.
That's like how the Western world has effed up yoga. I know it's going on YouTube, so I don't know if I can cuss, but that's how the yoga world has messed up.
You say what you want to say, girl. We're good.
Has messed up yoga. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes how it is with the Bible. You take that one little thing and you tweak it and make it your own.
Instead. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right. With everything, I feel like even watching these shows that we watch, we take and we make them our own.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So now,
Oh,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so then after that all happened, I was looking, because so once I took my yoga training, I was like, I don't know shit about yoga. I thought it was just all the physical, but it's like so much more about just like how you live your daily life and how you talk to yourself, how you talk to people. Like everything that you do just has like a ripple effect. It's just like that, you throw that rock in, it just keeps on going, So I wanted to know more about like breath work. I do like Ayurveda practices. So like that's the oldest like science. And that's things like, like scraping your tongue, or I'll step out of the bed with like a certain foot first, and doing like kooky thing. Like I wash my face with water 5 times with cold water and I rinse my eyes out. So anyways, I found a training that was a 300-hour. It's crazy. I did that one within like 3 or 4 months. It was an immersion one. I don't know how I got through it, but I was like, I had to, because again, I was like a single mom at the time. Their dad was gone, and I just had to get it done. But in that one, we had a lot of social justice, and it was great because a lot of times it was just us talking. And there was a Black girl, she actually lives in Salt Lake City, and she was just like, I'm gaslit every fucking day from the Love and Light crowd.
Wow. Yeah. And then love and light when it's coming, when it has to do with us.
And one of the facilitators was like, she's Indian woman. She taught the Ayurvedic portion. She was like, she's like, I'm not going to lie. I struggle with my yoga when I see someone that comes to my class on the TV January 6th. I know.
Girl.
I know. Right. So it's like so things like that. It's like, like with like, how strong is your yoga? Like,
is it just like, what is your why? Is it just for your body and not to connect? Or is it,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the way you broke it down, because for me, I knew that it was about, I always looked at it like it was about, I never called it self-care, which is what it is. I just looked at it like it's a way to control yourself, maybe when you're out of control. And then the physical part was always second to me, but they both go hand in hand. Actually,
Yes.
it's taking care of your mind and of your body at the same time, when you know where it comes from and what it's what the background, what the genesis of it was, why it came about. I think that's with
Absolutely.
everything. When we learn the genesis of, go back to stay woke, it's like, and that's not really what that means, you know, like, so.
So
That is
just
really
one last
true.
thing. So in yoga, there's 8 limbs. And the one that people focus on all the time is asana, which is the physical. So if you ever hear someone say like a yoga pose, like uttanasana, that's what, like, they're talking about, like it's like a moving pose, and asana means like to sit with. But there's also like the pranayama, which is your breath work, the meditation. There's the yamas, the niyamas. Those are like how you treat yourself, how you treat others. So there's like 8 limbs in yoga, and you're supposed to practice them all, because eventually you're supposed to get to a point to where you are outside of yourself when you're practicing looking down, like you're basically in nirvana. And the thing is, though, it's like you're never going to get to nirvana because you're always bettering yourself. So
right. So you're never going
to, you just make the progress.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but another way that, you know, people can scam you, just saying.
Oh, I see what you're saying. They're selling you this thing because you'll get here, but it's like, as long as you're living, you'll always be learning, and hopefully be bettering yourself. You know, what's funny? I tell my kids, nobody's perfect. You're only perfect when you're dead, because you can't do anything else. You're going to mess up every single day, whether it's in thought, and that doesn't mean messing up doesn't mean killing someone, or doesn't mean, you know what I mean? Sometimes we have intrusive thoughts that we have to talk ourselves down from. But yeah, the goal should be being a better version of yourself than you were previously.
Yeah. Practice makes progress.
I like practice, make it not perfect. Practice makes progress. You know what? So tomorrow I'll have no bowls of ice cream instead of the 2 I had today, because I just wanted it today.
There you go.
Ice cream and cake, and you put it in the microwave and you let it melt for. I like soupy ice cream.
Okay, I used to when I was younger. Me too. I used to when I was younger. It was so good. So
to me, there's nothing better than Entenmann's pound cake and Breyer's natural vanilla. It used to be vanilla bean for those old school people that remember. It used to be vanilla bean and not natural vanilla. Girl, one time
I love a vanilla bean.
Girl, one time Corey brought home extra creamy, or it was home style. What is this? This is not natural.
See, I do like the home style because it's easier to scoop. Girl, I could talk. Listen, vanilla ice cream is me and my son, my youngest. It's our favorite ice cream. And it's so funny because people think vanilla is so basic, but someone has showed me something that vanilla is actually one of the more challenging flavors to make of ice cream.
See, let me tell you. And there's also a tier. Like, I had to tell this one girl I used to work with, she thought she was all that. And I was like, girl, you are the Turkey Hill of vanilla ice cream. Because we all know Breyer's is the top. So there is your store brand vanilla. Then you have your.
You know who else is good? I was looking it up. Bluebell. We have Bluebell right now.
Okay, that's down south, right? See, I've never tried.
Oh, okay.
I've never tried that.
Listen, I usually go for like whatever is like on sale, but when Breyer's is like the buy one get one, my son, he freaks out because he loves cookies and cream, but he likes the Oreo one.
Yes, I like that one too.
So when Breyer's is on sale, he's like, let's get it.
Yeah, I love these. I'm telling you, don't come to me. I'm telling you, she used to strut around the office, and she was and I had to let her know one day, because we were talking about different things and we all loved Breyer's. And I said, girl, you are the Turkey Hill of vanilla ice cream. Like, so I need you to go somewhere. You and them kittens clacking around this office. Go sit down. But anyway, speaking of clacking around, let's get into our housewives. So,
okay. I actually want to bring up something before I forget about it. So, and I just kind of want your thoughts on it. So, okay. You know how Candy and the gang got canceled, right?
Okay.
It's canceled, correct?
Well, it's canceled. And then she said it was coming back. She said it was coming back. And then she did an interview saying that they're shopping it to networks after she had said it was coming back.
So here's my thoughts. So we have, you have Vanderpump Rules, which obviously did great. You have Candy and the Gang. I
loved it.
Those characters, like, you can't write that.
Yeah.
And then you had Southern Hospitality, which I had a hard time keeping up with.
One episode yet,
but it's coming back. But here's my theory, especially since, what's that guy's name? David Lee, who does the food on TikTok.
Oh, Keith Lee.
Keith Lee.
Yes.
David Lee. Good Lord, Keith Lee. He went down there. He reviewed a lot of restaurants in Atlanta. We know about the Old Lady Gang not getting the best review. I'm wondering if they got canceled because producers and people behind the scenes know how the restaurant is ran. I think it has to do with how the restaurants ran and not necessarily like the characters on the show. You know what I mean? Because people go now to serve because it's on TV, and maybe they're not going to get the greatest service, but it's ran a little bit better. But I mean, the fact that like the power is going out down there, like they can't collect money, you can't order like for takeout, and I guess a lot of restaurants in Atlanta do that or something.
On the week,
even like when Todd was talking about he doesn't want to get a generator, like all these things. So I'm wondering if maybe their cancellation had to do with the fact they're like, listen, we don't know if your restaurant's going to be open, so we can't give you a show.
That is an interesting theory and would definitely be wild, because I'm disappointed that it's not coming back.
Yeah.
Well, again, she said it was, and then another season was coming. And then she said later that they were, I forget her exact words, but basically shopping it around to networks. So it was like, well, which one is it? So that's an interesting theory though.
Yeah. I just think they can't keep their shit together.
One thing I like about Keith Lee, I will say that I think people are missing, because people are like, how is he qualified to say if the food is good or this is good? He's not coming from that place. He's coming from a place of, if treat me as the average consumer, because I'm going to report on what your experience is going to be like walking into the restaurant where you spend your money. This is what it's going to get you. And I think people are missing that. They're looking at it like he's Gordon Ramsay walking into a restaurant, where it's like, no, he's actually doing this for us, like the consumer, the people who are spending our money. Hey, this is the experience you might get when you come to this restaurant. I think that's what people were missing with all.
When you go to a restaurant, you're not typing like, what does Gordon Ramsay think? You're like looking at like Yelp reviews, what other people had to say.
Exactly. It's like he was a walking Yelp review, and I appreciate it. And people were also focusing on the negative when there are a lot of small Black businesses that he helped.
Oh my gosh.
You know, so it's so shout out to Keith Lee.
Yes.
Definitely shout out to him.
Yes. Okay. On to some other.
So what, right. Cause I'll have you here all day. I'm like, I got my Red Bull, cause I got to go back out to work. Like, okay. So out of all the Housewives franchises that we have running currently, which is Salt Lake City, Beverly Hills, Potomac, and I'm going to include Married to Medicine, which one is absolutely doing it for you right now?
Potomac. I mean, like, yeah.
Tomato. No.
Okay. And I think it's mainly just because of, and you've talked about it on here before, it's like, I can watch the shows and I look like them. So I'm not, I guess sometimes I don't even care what's going on. I'm just looking at like the hairstyles or the fashion or their makeup.
I've talked about that.
Yeah. So, because God bless Garcelle. She's not. God
you talking about from Beverly Hills, right?
Yeah, like Garcelle. Like, girl, I'm like,
disappointed, and I don't mean in her as a. Oof. Okay, so we just gonna be real here. Like, I don't I wanted her to come in. You were the first on this franchise. I wanted her coming and slaying all day, every day. And who knows, in her mind, maybe she is slaying. I am just so like.
No.
Those fashion choices.
No.
Oof.
Remember when she was on Watch What Happens Live with Alexa, when they had the Miami premiere. Oh, actually, you know what? You left out Miami. If I had to
I did leave out Miami.
Me, actually, I would choose Miami over Potomac.
Okay.
I'm loving Miami right now.
I understand that.
Yeah. And like the outfit Garcelle had on, I was like, she looks so matronly. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And
Like it just
that's kind of what it, that is kind of what it gives. It is kind of, and she's a beautiful woman. She,
so beautiful. She almost had it with the pink dress she had on when we went to Vegas. Because the scene where like Sutton's being Sutton and Kyle, they're walking, and Garcelle's just like walking and smiling. Like her face was so lit up. It was so gorgeous, the pink and everything. And the dress was pretty cute, but it still reminded me of like the late mid 90s, like baby doll style dress. Like you were
the
almost
90s
there.
are running rampant through these housewives.
I know.
Potomac gives me 90s style, not Wendy and not Candace. Sometimes every once in a while, Candace gives me a hint, but I remember the first episode of Potomac, and I remember it was 8 years putting on Facebook, Giselle 1995 called, they want it all back. What do we have going on here? What
I know
going on?
I won't take away from Giselle. She's a beautiful, beautiful woman. But even like,
and that's where it
in her
ends for me.
In her confession, when she has like that blue tube top on with the feathers, that would be fine. But I'm like, God, it would have like been so striking if her hair was like slicked back, like yours. But like the crimped hair,
see her. Yeah, it's
too much. Going on. I was like, oh, if she just slicked it back, like it would have been so good. But
I personally believe, now I'm gonna be honest, ever since Candace last season said not today, say not today, next, there was a moment in time when Giselle was doing interviews in real time and she had turtlenecks on. And I do think, and I don't know, this is all legend, but I think maybe I don't know, maybe she said it. I don't know, but I think some work might have been done. I don't know if she necessarily wants to show all of this, but then again, I think she had her hair up in the last episode, in a ponytail in the last episode. So I don't know, but the beauty is where it stops for me. Everything else.
I know. Yeah. Well, we can start with them, but I'll say Miami's my best. So we're going to go by character. So I guess we kind of already established Giselle. She reminds me again of girls that I used to go to school with that were light skin, and rested on that. I think that's all.
Rested. Perched. Here I go. And I think what's disappointing to me is when she tries to come off as dense, when your father was very much involved in the civil rights movement. Although I will say I've read different articles. I don't know. Let me ask you this. Us coming from the community, do you feel like it's a learned behavior when it comes, or it's taught when it comes to colorism?
So here's
I know we're not speaking for all,
but I know. No,
based
for sure,
on, I'm thinking about the people that I know and different things that I watch. I don't know if it is or it isn't, because I know somebody who I know wasn't taught that the lighter the skin, the better. That's not what they were taught necessarily, but they knew the world kind of felt that way. So so a person in their family went that way, and everyone they dated was had to be a certain hue and all of that. So what do you think?
Let's be honest, within the civil rights movement,
yes,
there was colorism.
Yes,
there's
100%.
Colorism. They put to the front the people that were going to be more palatable for white folks. Like, let's be honest, which, by the way, I had a discussion with Black yogis, and there was a white yoga teacher owner that came, and girl, she loves to drop that she read bell hooks and she read this person, that person. I'm like, first of all, I don't give a damn who you read, because there was colorism back then. Okay. Like, I don't care. I'm telling you right now, as a Black person with this skin tone, what I think, see, and feel. Okay. So I don't care about the books that you read. I don't care. So, I mean, I can, yes. I mean, that's just kind of like, even when people are like, oh, Susan B. Anthony and women rights, I'm like, white women rights. And someone tried to tell me, like, well, she had to like give and take. She couldn't like, fight for, Black women because of such and such and da 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 da. So it's like, listen, within all of like the movements and stuff, people always love to, and that's another thing in yoga, people always say, well, the intention is good, but it's more about the impact.
And hello, everybody. Sometimes we say these throwaway phrases, not even understanding, not even really grasping them. When you think the road to hell is paved with what? Good intentions, meaning your intent may be good, but it could still lead you
Still going to hell
somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened
just
within that family, but like what you brought up, like I wouldn't put it past him to be like,
yeah, and I hope
yeah.
not. I just know that I've read certain articles, but then it's like, okay, well, let's fact check, because I don't want to just automatically,
No, for sure.
That either. But I of course we talked about, we didn't like the way the colorism conversation happened last season, and then now here we are this season, and I'm just not liking the division. Don't get me wrong. If we're gonna follow real life, let's talk about real life. But see, for me, that works in other settings. But with Potomac, we specifically can see some of those housewives are clocking in to do a job, right? So if you're clocking in to do a job, I would think that meant you cared about the betterment of the show. And a good show is not watching a cast divided and interact. So to me, saying, well, if that's their real life, that's their real life. Nah, because they're coming. So and maybe her real life is constantly bringing up rumors. Although this season, it's very noticeable that she's trying to take a bit of a backseat. But see, the great Nene Leakes would rally the troops. They would go at it. She would go at it with Kenya. And I take this from Carlos King when he worked on the show. But remember the season where all the women were against Kenya, and it's a big beef. It was a big beef, and he said he pulled Nene aside and said, "This is your show. You are the HBIC. If you throw Kenya a bone, the rest of them will. Is it really that deep?" And we saw a conversation between them happen, and we saw the show shift. But some of the things that Candace does, to me, Giselle, people like to consider Giselle the that housewife, the OG, she would be doing. When Candace said to Nneka, she was having like, well, we can't hold Wendy accountable for the things that her mom, like Candace does a lot of that, trying to bridge the gap. Yes. And I'm like, that's something that a real OG housewife know to do. But to them, it's all about exposing and let's talk about this rumor, let's talk about that rumor. And then the last thing, I was listening to one of my faves, Rodney the Voice, and he did a video about how he felt about Potomac, because at the end of the day, these are all of our thoughts, ideas, and how we feel. But he made a very good point. Anytime Giselle is not with the group, when she clocks out of work and goes back to her hotel, we see them all come together and have a good time, and beefs are squashed. Even if they get into it the next day, we get enjoyable moments from Potomac when she is not there. I do believe there is a world. Well, I definitely believe there's a world. And I'm not saying I want her to lose her job, but if they have to restructure, there is a world where I can see Giselle not on Potomac, because let's be honest, for me, she doesn't bring much to the show.
No, not at all. Not at all. I just don't understand, after like all these seasons, like when a situation is brought to her, she like gets that look where she's just so confused.
Yes. And then she's
with the whole colorism conversation, like she's just so like confused. Like, I didn't know this was an issue. Or like, again, well, I believe the girl, and I believe that Chris got her knocked up. I don't know. It sounded true. Like, come on, girl. Like, come on.
And at the end of the day, to me, let's be real. Yes, you want to believe negative about the person that you don't like, right? That's human. But also a part of being an adult is big, because we're watching the show and we're noticing every time someone says something negative about someone you don't mess with, it's always true. And I'm getting so sick and tired. We all look at social media. Content creators, we get a lot of our stuff from social media, right? Or at least some of it. Her and Robin are content creators. They have a podcast. Your podcast is based on a lot of headlines from social media. The things you bring to the show are what? Rumors from where? the internet, blogs, social media.
I
So
mean, that's how I heard that rumor about Chris and Candace and that girl. And
but
that's how I saw when she did the thing of, I lied, sorry.
Yes. So for me, you have two women saying, like Robin in the beginning of this season, social media runs to ruin me. They want to do this. And then you have Giselle who will do interviews saying, basically she doesn't care about social media. And then people will say, Giselle doesn't live tweet during the shows. She doesn't even care about social media. She's not concerned about it. But yet every time we hear her bring a rumor, it's from where? Social
That's part of like
media.
her marketing plan, her brand to not tweet and to not care. Because I mean, that's just like how, Tamra would be like, oh, Eddie doesn't do the reunions. Like he's like above and beyond it. But he was just as thirsty and excited as Tamra to be back on the show. Sorry, there's an ambulance going by, so you might hear
I barely heard it. But
okay, good.
I hear it now, but it's real life. This is real life.
I know. But so it's like, that's just like part of her, like, her brand, her plan to be like, oh, Giselle doesn't care. She can't even bother to tweet. Like, trust me, she cares.
Right. She definitely does.
She's watching. She cares. I just know deep down that Robin and Wendy could be like the best of friends if Giselle wasn't around, honestly. And and we can go to Robin next. I don't know. I feel for her, and especially when she was going through her depression. And I really wanted the women to get together. And this is, again, something that's still kind of taboo within the Black community. And I deal with depression. I was like even hospitalized one time in high school. And I just really wish they could all just like put their shit aside and be like, listen, let's talk about how it is as a Black woman to go through this stuff. Like, when you're depressed, you don't need to hear this is not attractive. Your man's going to cheat on you again. Like, that's not going to help her snap out of it. It's going to make it get worse, because then she's going to think, well, why even bother?
Mm-hmm. And that would have been a very powerful moment, which is the stark difference to me between Miami and Potomac. Yes. Those women don't all like each other either, but I believe
but they rallied for Lisa. They're like, you better call 911.
And they're going to rally for Gertie. And I do believe something traumatic happened for Larsa. Yeah, girl.
We'll get to that in a moment.
I do believe if something real quick with Miami had happened to Adriana, even with Alexia and Adriana's and Marisol's history, I don't believe they want anything for her.
They just start getting caught up within the show and like,
that's what it
clicks.
Is.
Yeah. But I think Robin and Wendy could be like really great friends. And I think like if Robin hanging around Wendy, like, I think it would just like kind of uplift her to see what it is to like love and respect yourself and like have a loving and respectful home. Because from what we see on the show, like she's just not living in one, clearly. Like, so I don't know. I just kind of like, my heart just goes out to Robin. I just feel bad for her. Like, she's just not happy. From what I can see, from what is placed on our show. I don't know her personally, but from what I see on the show, it's like, I just don't think she's happy.
And it's like, it's all over her. Like, you can see it. I personally think she's unhappy because I think deep down she wants to be back with Juan, but I don't think she's back with Juan. I think there was a situation, and I've said this over and over, and I'm going to keep saying it. They weren't together when the show started. It was interesting to Bravo, but there needs to be some evolution. And right now they're together because it's affording them the ability to not go back to the lifestyle they were in when all of their money was lost. And I do believe Robin feels like she owes that to Juan. I think that she still feels responsible, which technically she was, but when he didn't want to invest the money with their friend, she did it anyway. And then all the money, was lost. So I truly believe that there are separate lives going on, but for the sake of the show getting this paycheck, we are going to present this to the audience. But I believe she doesn't want it to be that. I believe she wants it to be the real deal. Because you're not going to tell me. Absolutely not. And I'm going to keep saying it again. It's interesting how we found the marriage license, but we haven't seen the marriage certificate.
Right.
I don't believe it. And you would hate to think that people will get their kids involved in these shows, like their kids involved in on it. But I feel like I've heard people say once you get past season 3 of being a housewife, that's where the money, you start seeing something. And I'm finding that that in this world, when people want, whether it's status, financial security, sometimes people will do anything to keep it.
Like, I just hope she's like putting some to the side or something. So if things go down, she's good to go.
Shanika, he's not gonna get nothing because you're not married. Anyway, no.
Oh, that's true. I will have to say, I am loving the like the editors are having like a ball on this show.
They
like even the first episode where they did like the Stranger Things style and like the house flipped upside down.
It's like, okay, they are. It's almost like, okay, the network brought you back and now we're gonna clown you.
And then when they, at the latest, at the pickleball thing, which is like, oh my God, Potomac, the pickleball has come to Potomac.
I said, pickleball has infiltrated our community. I thought I had left it with Vanderpump Rules and other shows.
And Randall. Wow. And when they're walking in and like all of those, like they look like movie reviews and they're like, he doesn't have a job. Girl, I was dying.
And even though I don't care for Mia, when she said, like, basically he would have been home watching TV, so why not come? I said, girl, she had a point though.
She does. Sometimes Mia like has like a point, then she goes too far and it's like, okay, Mia.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was like if he had just kept it right there. Normally the points are in her confessionals.
Yeah.
Also,
but because like with her whole thing with like the wine, because like Thanksgiving Day, I was like making mimosas and then drinking white wine. And I remember the day before I texted my friend, I was like, how's early is too early to start drinking? And it's gonna be white wine. So that technically, does that even count? They're like, no, that doesn't count. Go ahead, start drinking. I was like, I feel
when
like
she said, I'm not drinking alcohol. Oh, well, wine doesn't count.
Oh. I was like, Mia, but then I was like, you know what? Oh man, maybe she's right.
Because they're grapes.
I thought Mia she could have been great, but like you said, they are like clocking in and clocking out on this season on this show, because her first season, like she would say things, she'd be like, yeah, you said this. And then she'd be like, okay, wait a minute, that didn't happen. And it was funny the first couple of times, but then it just continues happening. And then like, Wendy calling her slow or dumb. And now she's comparing that to her son, who's an IEP.
That's me. And you put your son
is so far out there. Yeah, exactly. And the same thing with like, Candace, and like, it's her fault if her mom relapses. And it's like, well, if she's not strong enough to hear that, then she's not strong enough to be on the show. I mean,
what's interesting about the mom thing? I find it interesting that on Salt Lake City, there are some people that do believe Monica's relationship with her mom, they put the focus on Monica. But from what I've seen, for the most part, people are like, Monica, your mom is this, that, and the third, and they feel for Monica. But on Potomac, they put Dorothy on Candace and had no feelings of nothing for Candace the way they do for Monica. I just think that's really.
Oh my God. What were your thoughts when Dorothy was like, is he making money doing that?
I said, see, I don't like that, because here you go perpetuating, like, we know he has a seasoning line out, cooking classes that he charges for. The man is making money, but for her to say that, I'm like, here you go perpetuating this,
She's like, I just got to be me.
Yeah. It's like you're perpetuating this fodder. And it reminds me of sort of Todd and Candy, where people are like, well, Todd is doing things off of Candy's money. Todd had a job and was still going places producing, but Candy said she didn't want him to be basically traveling and doing these things without, like, she would rather him be with her. Yeah. So he gave it up, which is what Candace wanted from Chris. And yet now she's gone. And Candy's always gone, so it's like, it's a cycle.
I mean, it's a cycle. Always like a cycle.
The men, they'll say, oh, these men are just leeching off their wives. Not like these men could be supporting their wives. Now, granted, they're married at this point. So if you want me to quit my job, okay, but he's trying to make money in other ways. But then it's, oh, well, it's Candy's money. It's like, or, oh, it's Candace's money. It's like, But then I feel for them. Sometimes I feel for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes no, but in that particular instance, I was like, so you, Candace, now come on. You wanted this man, and I love you, Candy Gal, but you wanted this man to leave his job. And now you recognize that it's a bit hypocritical because now you're, he's still supporting her. So it's, the pickleball game was a lot. Did you see the text message that was leaked by Katie Ross today between her and Robin? I believe it was today.
Katie,
I don't have it up, but basically it was Katie and did I take a screenshot of it? It was Katie and Robin talking about Karen. They were texting each other. Oh, I think I have it. Oh, yep, here it is. So Robin was like, OMG, Karen is weirdly obsessed with me. It's creepy. So then Katie says, she said she was. Wait, laugh first. And then I think I'm reading the right one. And then in the gray, oh, yeah, so this is Robin. Love you too, mama. We miss you so much on RHOP. Katie says, okay, she said you were the most evil woman she has ever lived. And pause for laughs. And then that's all we got. And pause for laughs. And then Katie said, guys, I only cause drama on, wait, what day is it? Anyway, I do love Karen, but I have hearts for Robin. And I admit we were talking earlier today. And yeah, RHOP, I still watch it and love it. And then Robin commented and said, Katie, you left out the part where Karen said she is going to take me down.
Jesus. That's like another thing, taking down. Like it has taken such a turn with these shows to like, they just want to ruin lives. And I'm over it.
It's like, even in Beverly
And that's why
Hills.
I struggle with Salt Lake. That's why I'll like, if it's on, I'll watch it, but I don't like seek it out, and I'll just like listen to recaps because
let's transition to Salt Lake. But I'll even say, as far as Potomac, another point that Carlos King, and I will say he did make a good point last season. He said when Robin was asked, like, basically, why didn't she talk about her stuff with Juan? And she said, I thought Karen would bring it up. That lets you know their mindset. Their mindset is expose, reveal, not just supposedly being Housewives was not about exposing and revealing. Like that wasn't the premise of these shows. In Beverly Hills, even though Kyle would work my last nerve, she would push forward the conversation.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily to expose a rumor necessarily.
Right.
Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. But it was just about, no, what did you say about that person? It was a very different type than Potomac. Clocking in, let me drop this.
Because even the new girl, Nneka, and I know I'm probably not saying it right, Nneka, how Wendy said we're supposed to say it. It's like she came in like ready to take Wendy out or something.
And it was very clear.
And I'm just, and again, just in general within the Black community, like when things, I listen, I know nothing about like OSU or like their culture or anything. But there's like stuff that I do in my daily life and I get called like, oh, you're a voodoo woman or this and that. And it's like, I know nothing about like the voodoo culture either. I may do some like witchy things, but it's like, when like white people do it, it's like, oh, you're a witch and it's cool and it's aesthetic. But like when Black people do it, it's scary. And, there's altars and this and that. It's like, I have an altar, like, am I a terrible person?
There's altars in churches.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And then that's like, sometimes when you're asked someone, like, I'll have it with like yoga. They're like, well, I don't do yoga because I believe in God. I'm like, that has nothing to do with anything. But you understand what I'm saying? Like, that's like where people take it. And like, it just becomes like a big thing. And I just kind of hate that. Like, it's just so obvious. It's like, I don't know, like leave Wendy alone.
and I feel like there's something on both sides. Something happened off camera.
Yes.
Both sides, and neither side is saying.
And then now even with like the husband and Eddie not friending him on Facebook.
And you know what's fun? I don't even know if they're the same age. Did they graduate? I believe the same. Because so they were in this they were in the Black Student Union or something. That doesn't mean a person. I think what's frustrating to me is that I do believe there's a little bit of Wendy omitting stuff, but also Nneka too. Nneka said, I don't know Wendy. Then she said, I know Wendy. Then when they were at pickleball, Nneka was saying, we don't know each other, as Wendy was saying, we don't know each other to have beef. So you've both said it. but now but now Wendy's lying because she knows you. To me, something happened. And I do believe it could have been a thing of they wanted Wendy to bring Nneka on as her friend. And Wendy was like, no, I don't know her like that. I have my own friend that I'm bringing on. But is it because can they not say it because they don't want to break the fourth wall? So now they're talking around it and it's not making sense to the audience. If that is the case, I wish they could just say, not even, girl, you wanted me to bring you into this friend group. People that we know in common wanted me to bring you in. I don't know you like that. I brought my other friend in. At some point, it's going to have to be don't respond to an argument that happened off camera without cluing us in. So it's like things are happening off camera and then you come on camera to respond and you're like, wait a minute, what are we missing?
I mean, I could say, like I told you, I went through like 9-10 months with people in my training and, we Facebook friend each other, whatever. But if there was like opportunities, I wouldn't vouch for half of them. You know what I mean? It's like, I unfollowed some of them. So it's like, I know them because we went through an experience together, but it doesn't mean that they're a friend or that I even know them, because
it's maybe the content.
We're learning about, yoga and love and this and that. And then one of the girls I was following, she was like a hardcore, like Trump follower. And I was like, okay, we got to go.
Right. I don't want to see the content. I'm not going to argue with you so I'm just going to unfollow.
So it'd be like her coming back to me like, oh, so what? You don't know me anymore? I'm like, well, clearly I didn't know you to begin with. I just saw you several hours each weekend.
Girl, I meant like 2 years ago, I unfollowed somebody very quietly because I was like, I had a conversation with a friend and they were like, if this really is bothering you, it makes you like, why are you still following? You don't really have communication with them. I said, you know what? You're right. Girl, then months later, they found out, blocked me and said I turned against them. I'm like, it's not that serious. I just didn't want to see some of the stuff that you were saying. And
I had that same situation happen to me too.
I
had the same situation. I was just like, it's nothing against you, but it's just, I'm going in a different direction. Best of luck.
I'm going in a different direction. Very much so. Speaking of different direction, let's leave Maryland to Salt Lake City. So you are having a hard time with Salt Lake City.
I do. Well, and this was the first, I think, of the whole Housewives franchise where it actually generally started as Housewives, correct? Because everything else was
that's a good question. Everything else was
like Manhattan Moms or like, whatever. So, when it first came out, like the production of it, I was like, okay, it got treated like a housewife show. It was amazing. And then, Jen Shaw, she worked me like really quick, but then, you watched anyways. But it's like the desperation. It's like Whitney and Heather so badly want to be housewives. Lisa Barlow, clearly, like she is so like studied. So I just have a hard time watching it. That's the reason why I can never get into Dallas, because I remember listening. This was when the pickings were slim on podcast. I listened to Leanne, I think, on a podcast. Is Leanne, she's the one who's always like, I'm a carny.
Yes.
Okay. So it was like first season of Dallas, and she talked about how she like studied the other shows. And so she would have things to say to kind of like have those moments. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not going to be genuine. So I'm not into it. And so I could just never get into it for that. And I see that a lot with Salt Lake. It's just like they studied it. They want this. They're desperate. And it just doesn't sit well with me. So I struggle.
I 100% get that. I will say this season, I'm enjoying it. Not everybody, because it's sort of like how we say we see Giselle clocking in, causing havoc. A lot of times it has to do with people's families, and she's clocking out, and we don't get anything of her story. I see that with Whitney on Salt Lake City from the beginning, but I'll have to give her credit and say that she is messy with her own ish too. You know what I mean? So it's not just her. Still annoying, still very annoying. But
I think whatever the producers tell Whitney to do, like they're like, Whitney, we need a good show. Do you want this to last? Like
last
she'll
night?
do it.
I mean, did you see it Tuesday?
No, but if there was like a hot mic moment with Lisa again or something.
I said, girl, Take this off. Take this off. No, you're not putting that back on. One thing she said, because Whitney told her she was selfish. So basically, Whitney lost her best friend ended up passing away from cancer.
Okay.
She got the text while her and Justin were driving and talking about therapy that her friend was being intubated. And then she had just visited her that previous Monday. And she said she had a conversation with her friend, and her friend said she felt death was coming. So, and her friend was at Whitney's Prism event for her. Is it a jewelry line? I forget. Whatever line Whitney has, her friend was actually there. So now fast forward, weeks. I don't know if it was weeks or days later, but the friend is passing away. So then the friend ends up dying. And evidently we find this out later, but Whitney called Lisa first and had been texting with her and all this. So they get to Meredith has a jewelry launch for her plated jewelry. And he says, Lisa just comes up and has gifts for Heather. Like, oh, I thought this would be funny. Ha ha. Hi, Whitney. How are you? And Whitney's thing was, you're supposed to be my good friend. You're not there to support me. And I kind of saw both sides of it, because Lisa was saying, like, basically they text all the night before, they've been texting, they've been talking. When she saw Heather at Meredith's event, she didn't immediately go to Whitney like, oh, I'm so sorry. Da, da, da. She was like, hey, Heather, talking and laughing to Heather, and then says to Whitney, are you all right? In that moment, I said, I don't know what type of freaky multiverse, Freaky Friday, upside down, backwards day was I living in, because for a minute, I felt what Whitney was saying. You'll see when you watch the episode, I also felt what Lisa was saying. But so Whitney calls her selfish and says, I needed you. And during Lisa's hot mic moment, she said, I'm selfish. And I almost felt like it was a veiled thing. Like, you said I'm selfish. This is her hot mic moment. But maybe you need to shut your effing mouth. Like, it almost alluded to something else to me. If you go back and watch that episode, you'll see it was like, oh, you're saying this, but da 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 da. And I'm like, so what? What's get ready to come out about them now? I don't even know.
Oh God! See, that's the problem. They all want to take each other down.
Yeah,
there needs to be a little bit more cohesion. I just saw a clip today about Heather Gay saying she's not going to film with Monica anymore. Yeah. Like, people need to stop, like, thinking they have that pull.
Now, do you think it's because of the lawsuit?
I hope not, because I feel like this lawsuit is like getting blown out of proportion. It's like, what, $2,000 or something?
And I wonder if Heather knew about the lawsuit before filming, because they're saying that when Heather, during the trailer, we saw Heather get a phone call and she's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Does Heather have, like, businesses have their business accountants and their this and their that and their collections departments, maybe. So maybe Heather didn't know, because it was a different last name. It was because Monica had her, evidently they're saying Monica had a married name, her pre-married name, her married name. And then after she got divorced, she didn't go back. She didn't keep her married name or go back to her other name. She then started going by her dad's last name, which she had never gone.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was like, Monica, what's going on?
Yeah. Monica,
what do you think about Monica? I feel like the audience is either, I love her realness, I love this, or this is not what I watch Housewives for. People complaining about.
I'm kind of like in the middle. It's kind of like, yes, Lisa, stop talking about your ring, but I also want to hear about you losing your $50,000 ring, because that's what this show's about. Like, it's supposed to be aspirational.
I felt like she could have came at her like, girl, we tired of hearing about your ring. Okay. Versus making it Lisa's fault that she's wealthy enough to afford that type of ring. And now she's upset because she lost it. I didn't like that.
Yeah. And then, the stuff with her mom, God, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot.
The mom taking the car and then bringing it back.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? I'm gonna have to say it.
Okay.
People talking, oh, Monica, I feel so bad. Your mom took your car and that sucks and da 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 da. Nah, that's your mama's car. Monica, that's you're a spoiled brat. That's your mom's
like they
car.
do with Candace. Yeah.
I just find that very interesting. But I will say what annoyed me a little bit about Monica was when in the beginning of the season, when she cried about buying the white Louis Vuitton purse. It was like, girl, you're crying about it, but you had the money to go and get it. There's a difference. So if we're going to talk about people not having
Yeah.
money, people having to suffer. There's you knew what this show was.
But I mean, also like on these shows, like across the board, it's like these women, they have fashion, but they don't have style.
That girl.
So I will say, and I'm going to take it back to New York. I mean, she kind of lost me towards the end, but you know, Heather Holla Thompson. And I remember like when she first came on, and I liked the way her and Carol dressed. And I remember Heather being like,
I liked
yeah,
Carol too.
she was like, I wear a lot of vintage. And that's like my style. I don't care about labels. I care about like quality vintage, like, you know, and you can even say, you know, with like Erica Jane compared to Dorit. Dorit has fashion, but Erica has style.
Yes,
So Monica didn't have to go and buy this purse. Like what she probably should have did is like give me a stylist, and you know, even though I don't like this term, but be like, show me quiet luxury.
Yes.
You know, like, and that's the problem on these
like
shows.
Adriana said.
I mean, and because I'm pretty sure that, you know, there's like certain like designers that they're wearing and stuff I don't recognize, but it doesn't have to be like all in your face like it is like on Beverly Hills and stuff. So I don't like, so the whole like I went to go buy a Louis Vuitton purse to like fit in, and then it's like, okay, well, how many times are you gonna wear that purse? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah,
like if anything, you buy that when you have the money to throw away. That's not the everyday carry.
Yeah. Right? What I liked is remember when Heather went to Gina's house a couple seasons ago and was like helping her clean out her closet and stuff.
Yes.
And it wasn't about brand. It was just about like style. And I would even give to Gina. Gina's like dressing better. And I don't think everything she's wearing is like a fashion brand, but like she had up like that cut up jean jacket.
No, I agree. I don't think fashion, having a style doesn't necessarily equal labels. Mm-hmm. There's been outfits I have put together that people wouldn't even know where they came from versus, or thinking that they're so expensive, and it's like, they're not, or you mix and match your high, your low, you know, all of that stuff. So
yeah,
with Salt Lake City, Lisa Barlow to me is one that is fashion over style, because everything is a name. Those people that everything is a name.
Yeah.
So what if it's my Versace or Versucci or Gucci? It's like, that's not what I'm looking. Now, I will say, Monica and Mary. Monica went to visit Mary this last episode.
Okay.
Mary gave her some very good advice. You know, she was like, don't ever lose yourself over what basically, and I'm paraphrasing.
See, that's what I want to see. Because I think Monica and Mary actually have like a pretty cute like friendship. Because when they went on that trip and they were together, she was like, I'm gonna make Mary my friend.
Yes,
and like,
and Mary was very much like, don't ever lose yourself over what someone says. But it was such good advice. And then it was funny because in her confessional, Monica said, Mary gives very, very good advice. Now, is she good at taking it all the time?
No.
But she gives good advice, and she liked that. So
Mary's a mess. Like she cracks me up.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
very much. She was at Kathy Hilton's holiday party. She got the invite.
I heard of, oh my God, those two together. Can you imagine? Like, I know Mary's problematic, but like, listen, I just like that she gathers Whitney. She gathers Whitney.
Me too.
Like, she's like, you said you were going to take me down. That's not cool. I'm not messing with you.
Right. Sorry, I fell asleep from.
Look, no, you're fine. You're fine. But even like when they were
my sacrum.
No, when they were on the your sacrum. When they were on the trip, and she's like, "Who was it, Angie?" She's like, "Mary, come sit with us." She's like, "Don't talk to me like that." Like,
I don't want to come. I'm not. Why are you talking to me?
She's like, "Oh, okay."
And I feel like those are things sometimes you do want to say, like, girl, why? Like when you're out with a group of people and one of them you don't really mess with, so you're trying to be like, it's your friend's friend. Like Candace and Kiarna with Wendy, and Wendy was like, our friend Ashley, and you know, Black folks, that's your friend. That is so Mary did it. That don't. Why are you talking to me?
So, yeah. I'll have to watch the latest episode just to see Mary and Monica together because I think they are pretty funny
it was
together.
so that's why you're having a hard time with Salt Lake City,
Yeah,
because
I
you're
just think
not
it's just
getting.
too like it's just too much desperation from all of them. Because I feel like this whole thing, like whatever phone call Heather's gonna get, like everyone's gonna be disappointed.
You think so?
You
Like
know?
Black Guy.
Oh my God.
Now,
Yes. And I will say Jen Shaw did a lot of terrible things, but I think it was messed up for Heather to capitalize on Jen Shaw being a villain and alluding to the fact that Jen assaulted her.
and she's also right now, basically, in order for her to not, it's almost like she's using, she said, basically, she had all her faith and trust in Jen Shaw, and look how that turned out. So now she has to be cautious with Monica. And I don't like how she's using that as an excuse. And she's comparing Monica and Jen's behavior and basically trying to say they're the same person. And so now I have to be cautious because I always back the wrong horse. It's very interesting to see how she's trying to do that now. And I'm like, I don't.
Why don't she just like back and focus on herself?
Or just say, yeah, or girl, I don't, even if she's, I feel like because they're trying to make a show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Monica does have reactions to
Mm-hmm.
their actions in order to justify me siding with the popular girl, Lisa, who I've been wanting to side with. Let me figure out a reason why Monica is the problem. So now you're trying to relate her to Jen. You know what I mean? So it's really wild that they do that. And I will also say that Whitney on Watch What Happens Live said that, well, Andy said, so we learned more about Heather's black eye story. Do you believe it now? And Whitney said yes. So basically, we're going to learn, some stuff about the black eye.
Okay. Got it. Well, that's all I have for Salt Lake.
That's all you have for Salt Lake. Look, as I'm talking, I just happen to look down at my college girls texting. I'm like, okay, yep, let me answer that real quick. If I see like that, okay. But yeah, so that's all you have for Salt Lake. I can't believe we disagree, Shanika. I'm really loving it. But
I know
I see you. I see your point though. I see all of the points.
There's just no one on that show that's like pulling me in where I'm like, I
get it.
Just, like, watch for them.
But you have to watch. You have to watch you actually need to watch, because if you ain't watched this week's episode, you ain't watched last week either. So I need you to go back and watch both of these episodes because I want you to see the way Heather switches up on Monica. It's a switch up that's like, girl. And now here I have to say this. Heather took them all to. Now look, we know that she's trying to basically divorce herself from the church, for lack of a better. But yet at the same time, she still feels a pull to the church. So she takes them all to a place so they can basically reenact or be like the original.
Yes, I saw pictures of that. Yeah.
And Monica has said in her confessionals this week, she wished Mary had been there. And I said, no, Mary, if we're reenacting those times, Mary would not only have not been there, she would not have been allowed to be there. We're talking about, okay, anyway, but yeah. So I just thought that
I saw pictures of that. That was, I've never seen anything
me of New York, of Ebony's season of.
Oh yeah, when they went to the witch.
And Bershawn was there. And one moment that I wish they had showed on the show and not just a behind the scenes clip was Bershawn was curling her hair and Ebony knocked on the door and was like, and Bershawn, they had like a homegirl moment. It's like, girl, are they really, bringing us here or whatever? Like the slave trade came through here.
Yeah.
But I get why you're not watching Salt Lake City. I'm gonna give you a pass, but I know what you are watching. Welcome to Miami.
Yes. I really enjoy Miami. I really enjoy Nicole and Gertie. I used to love Alexia. So it's so crazy how she's kind of become, I guess, like the queen of Miami there, because within the first couple of seasons, it's like she kind of like she wasn't the dynamic one. It's like, she was always like the Cuban blonde, yes, gorgeous and whatnot, but she wasn't who she was now with the ego.
But I think it's different because now your show is on, you're not really sure what it is, but you're on this show. Now the pop culture zeitgeist or multiverse with Housewives, if you will, it's a big deal. Hello.
It's changed, yeah.
And now she wants that.
And I think, well, we'll see. She's not doing too bad this season. We'll see how it is. And I think another problem is her bro, Marisol. Because when she was on Watch What Happens Live with Garcelle, I thought she was so charming and likable because, she was just like, yeah, I thought I would have had the first seat because it's our premiere night and da-da-da-da. Like, there wasn't like an ego to her. Like, she was like very sweet and very kind. And I was like, okay, that's the Alexia. Or is it Alexa or Alexia? I keep on messing up.
It's Alexia, I think.
Alexia, yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I feel like somebody was calling her Alexa. Alexia, and I was like, she was so charming on that show, being like, oh, well, I thought I had first seat because it's our premiere night. And and I was just like, okay, that's like the Alexia, like I like, not this one like, oh, and wait till you see the gift he gets me. It's really expensive.
And it's like I go back. So you talking about with Adriana, I go back and forth because it's like
me too. Because Adriana
makes points, but also she wants to be the victim in everything. I didn't think the farting conversation that Marisol and Alexia talking about it, I didn't think that was necessarily a big deal. But when she's used to, it's like she wants to be a part of there too.
She doesn't feel like the cool kid.
Yeah. And I think it heightened everything with that conversation.
Because when we first last left Adriana, she was getting married. She had the guy, the house, he had that big old boat and whatever. I don't know what happened with them, but they got the divorce. And now, she's worried about her money. But I know she used to be into like an art dealer or something.
She is, and she's very well educated. And when you think like she's in the
so that's why I'm kind of thrown off too. It's like, I don't know. And I kind of have like the same problem with Lisa. I don't know if I should say it on here, but I'm just like,
look,
I just kind of feel like sometimes Lisa Hochstein is just a little bit lazy and doesn't want to do anything. I don't know if she wants to like
really,
and
yeah.
And I shouldn't say like lazy, like she's just laying around doing nothing.
No, I know what you mean.
Like,
I know.
She knew what she was getting with Lenny. I think she knew that he was cheating for a very long time, but she pushed it and he was just like, well, I'm going to show you. And she kind of messed up her situation. And now she's trying to use this show. I mean, he is clearly a bad guy, but I can see there were faults on both sides. And I mean, but listen, power to her because she's got a $32,000 condo and both of the ex and the boyfriend are.
I said, come on, Lisa. Come on.
Like, God, how did these women like, they just like jump into relationships so quick? Like I've been divorced like almost 5 years and I was like in one relationship, but I was just like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, even like Shannon Bedore, they're like, I'm lonely, I'm this, I'm that. I'm just like, spend some time alone. Like you're single, your kids are older, like you've got money. Like, why do you want to be tied down with someone who doesn't care about you?
Linda Evangelista, is that how you say her last?
Yes, I saw her quote.
She said she don't want to be in their relationship. She don't even want to hear them breathe.
Listen, oh my God, I have a queen size bed that I have to myself. Okay. And my sister was telling me that like her and her husband are upgrading their bed because they have a queen size. And I was just like, ugh. I was like, I was like disgusted. I was like, the ghetto.
So you know what's funny?
Like, not a queen size bed.
Not a queen size bed, honey.
This is where you live.
You know what's funny?
I watch that clip like once a month.
I always like, you said you watch that clip like once a month.
Yes.
That and her walking, like when she, like the way she was walking. I will say, so we've been in our house. December 8th will be 2 years that we officially lived here because we closed in November of 2021 and we moved in December 8th, 2021. So it wasn't until, what's this year, 23? January of 2022. So we were in the house. Okay, so it was only a few months. Prior to that, we had our mattress for like 10 years, maybe between 8 and 10. And they say that's what they're good for, right? We got a queen size because we were just like, oh, yes. Oh. And baby, we got a we were talking about a California king. I said, now, a California king, I would never see you. So, except for when it'd almost be like, do our thing and go back to your room, because that's how big a California king is. But we got a king this time, not a California king, and it is just so much different than a queen. And we went to a hotel. We went away somewhere this summer, and the room had a queen size bed, and I was like, why is
God
so small? Like, but and I was like, well, only been in a king for a year, and I'm acting like, but
no,
I get it.
They say they're like, oh, the queen is the largest you can get because kings and California kings ruin marriages. But I'm like,
it does not.
I cannot.
You can also look at it like it's more room to roll around.
Yeah. I just like, I don't know. I like to sprawl out in my bed. I've got like my pillows set up in one way. So when I roll one way, I can be one.
Can I tell you, every night, and this is no exaggeration, I slide into my sheets and I flex my toes and I'm like, I love my bed. I need a different pillow. I was, for all my life, I was a non-pillow person up until last year, or up until 2 years ago, actually. Before that, I was a non-pillow person. Now I need a little bit, or whatever on my neck or whatever. But I just love my bed and my white sheets. Now you got to wash a lot, but Black folks be oily, be oiling up. But I love the whole, so yeah.
Yes.
So that's funny that you said, ooh, not a queen size bed, honey.
I know. Yeah. I can't. But so yeah, that's like my thoughts on Lisa. It's like, and then I feel for her, but then I also kind of like know like her personal views on a lot of things. And I'm like, okay, this is why I try not to follow any of them on social media. But
I wonder why what her relationship is with her Jamaican side of her family.
That's what I would love to know. Yeah, and that's another thing. It's like Lisa's on this show and she gives a lot, but it's like we still really don't know much about her.
Right.
Yeah. What was I going to say next? Nicole, I love. A lot of people are saying like, what's going on with Anthony and like, where is he really getting his money from? But I think they're pretty solid. And I think if anything was to go down, like Nicole would be more than fine. Nicole's like smart, great job, but she's like, we're here for a short time and I'm going to have like the time of my life. She's like, doesn't have a problem getting into it though. And she really love
and has her own money. So yes, the houses are in his name, but if something were to go down, I'm sure I'm
making sure she's making great money and she's like the head, right? She's in charge.
And she's on a show. Like,
she's good.
Yeah.
And I really love her and Gertie's relationship. When Gertie was explaining, like you could see Nicole like knew what she was.
I was going to say, Nicole already knew.
Like you can tell. So I really enjoy her. Adriana, like I said, like, I don't know. It's like, I feel bad for her and I see where she's coming from, but I also wonder, like, what were you doing between when the show ended to now to where you're still not feeling secure, like financially?
Or even at all, like in anything, it seems like, and I feel like, is she looking at Alexia like that's the life I used to have?
Right. And I am someone like now has like changed my views on like marriage and everything. So like I'm more than fine being alone. And I'm like, once my boys leave, I'll just get a dog. So like when she's crying, like, I don't have anybody and I'm just all alone and my son's going to leave soon. I'm thinking like, so what's the problem?
Right. So you're thinking differently.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just have a hard time and like, I'm not gonna lie, there's moments when I'm like, oh, it'd be nice if someone's like in bed with me or whatever, but then that goes away really quickly. But when the women on these shows like do this, like I'm lonely shtick, I'm like, no, I don't care. Like I'm like with like Vicky and her love tank and the guys that she was with. And then like even Shannon and John Jansen. And it's like, y'all can do better. Like just take a few months or so and like really work on yourselves, like actually be alone.
Yeah.
And you will realize it. It's like I stayed in a marriage longer than I should have. But once I'm off, like the weight literally fell off my shoulders. It's like, you don't realize how much you're holding on to. you want to talk about cortisol.
Right,
Like,
right, right. Well, I was going to ask you, is it because of not relationships as a whole, but because of the relationship that you were in? Is that what has you in the space where you're like, I'm not even interested at all because the
probably,
way
but
that was
then,
lifted?
and I think I've just been, well, like single. Well, it's not like I don't like date or whatever,
Right.
but it's like
Yeah.
I've been single for so long, and I always like send Janelle the memes where it's like, I see that you kept the cap off the toothpaste. I'm sorry, but this isn't working out for me. Like
Yes,
that's
yes.
like that's where I am.
Okay, okay,
Like any
okay.
little thing. I'm like Linda Evangelista. I'm like Whoopi. I don't want nobody in my house.
Yes,
Like
yeah,
I don't
because you
want
know how you like things,
in
how
my
things are set
peace, in my
up.
space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone tells me I should date a firefighter
Oh,
because
yeah.
of their schedule. I was like, that might work.
Right. Actually, that's
I
a
was
good
I know
idea.
I know I was like I need to start speaking that into existence. I was like, I
Get on
think the
down to
next
that
person I date,
firehouse.
I know, right? I was like, I think the next person I need to date is like a firefighter where I don't have to see them all the time.
They're like, all right, babe, see you in 48,
Oh my God, that's
in
amazing.
36,
Oh my God, that's amazing.
72.
Yeah, I could do that.
I think it's something about getting older and liking your space.
Yes.
I was reading something on Instagram, I'll say maybe 2 months ago, and I'm always here for comments, but it was about somebody getting married, being older, and she loved the man she was getting ready to marry, but she was not looking forward to sharing her space. And there were
Mm-hmm.
so many people in the comments like, oh my gosh, same. Right now, my man and I are just dating and I'm fine with that, but we're supposed to move in together. And I just want my own space. I don't know how I'm going to be. And there was a lot of that. I think when you're younger, you think, oh my gosh, I couldn't live in
Yes,
a
you can.
separate space. But then as you get older and value your quietness and space, you're like, maybe I can. You know, those
I have a friend, her and her fiance, they have separate rooms. Like he'll tuck her in at
really?
night and then he'll go to his room. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it works for them because she's like, I need my own space. He needs his own space. He can play his PlayStation, whatever, and I
And
just
her
go to
room
bed.
probably looks how she
Yeah,
wants it to
yeah,
look.
because she's like, he needs the fan on, this and that. She likes silence. She doesn't want a TV in her room, and it
So do you
works.
think that? Yeah, I used to want a TV. I'll tell you, I don't want the TV in my. It's in there, but I would rather not have it.
Mm-hmm.
Too. Um, do you think they'll continue that
Yes.
to get
Mm-hmm.
married?
Yes. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
know what?
For
If it,
sure.
I'm of the mindset now. Honestly, even before, even if I would say, well, that wouldn't work for me or this would work for me, people need to do what works for them and not listen to what society tells them a marriage has,
Exactly.
raising kids has to look like, what conversations are supposed to look like, and with stuff like that. You got to do what works for you. You have people that have slept in the same bed for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, barely touching or acknowledging each other. And then you got people that sleep in separate rooms that the fire is not put out, so you just never know what
I
works.
mean, just so much tension being in the same space with someone that you don't like, like you're not,
Well,
how
wait a
can you?
minute. Now we
Oh
hope
my
they like
God.
each other, but yeah.
I know, I know. My friends tell me all the time, they're like, you got to date, you're getting weird.
You said so much tension being in the space with someone you don't like.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm getting weird. I've already told, because almost all of my friends, except for one guy friend, he's single. And I told him, I was like, we have to dedicate 1 month next year to actually like date and not just like hook up. We have to like like with the intention of
I mean,
dating and getting to know somebody.
oh, okay. I
Oh
thought
no,
you meant,
no, he's not.
okay.
No, he's gay.
Okay,
No.
okay. So y'all were saying, but intentional for each
Yeah,
other. Okay.
yeah. Our intentions, like we got to meet people and actually like go on dates.
I like, okay.
Without like any other expectations, because I was like, we're getting weird, and it's like not.
Well, I'm telling you, when you said being in with someone you don't like, that was funny. That was good.
Listen, I was there.
Well, I think too, when you have been there and you reflect on it, it's like, I will never go back there. So I'm going to do whatever I can to protect myself because also,
Yeah.
let's be real, people can fool you. You see red flags, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes people can really,
Girl.
or for some reason your discernment is off and you're like, wait a minute, what did I get myself into? And by that time, sometimes, it's like, oh man, here we are. So
I mean, I was definitely like for better, for worse. So love conquers all,
okay.
whatever it takes kind of gal. But I was just like, how much for better or worse does it have to get? You know what I mean?
How much
like,
worse does it have to
yeah,
get?
how much worse does it have to get? And so there's this I was talking about it to someone earlier this week, so it's funny. There's a song, it's by a band, Stone Temple Pilots. It's a rock band, and
I've heard the name.
Okay, yeah. So the lead singer Scott Weiland, he's passed. He had addiction issues, but he has a song called Sour Girl. And I remember before I got my divorce, and I like the song. And I was just like listening to it a lot. And he was like, I was a Superman, but looks are deceiving. And then he says in the song, she was a happy girl the day that she left me. So it's about him divorcing, I think, his second wife.
Okay.
And I related to it so much because, again, like they portray themselves in like one way. And maybe, even I portrayed myself in one way, but then you keep on going and you're like, wait, you aren't who you said that you are. And this is not cool. And so, she was a happy girl the day that she left me, the day we signed the divorce papers, Wow. So, yeah.
when you think about, even though it's so cliche to say you only get one life, but you truly only get to do it once, from what we know of anyway, right? Once.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you can do whatever in your power, like we have to do whatever in our power is to make sure that we're happy. Every day isn't going to be a field of roses. We know real life happens. You lose people, things happen, finances go up, go down, sideways, whatever. We know all that stuff happens, but you truly have to do whatever is in your control to live the life that you want to live. And even if you're not where you want to be yet, to be okay with where you are now until you get to at least be happy with where you are now, like not be miserable where you are now until you get to the next level you want to be at, so, and that's for all things, whether it's love, career, your children, ever, what.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I definitely am going through that a lot. My situation, the dad, he dealt with addiction and he went to a program and it was like 3 years and he's back in their life and doing things and, talking about like,
how is it him being back?
It's good. Talking about like my yoga, I've had to let go of a lot of like, I guess like, I don't want to say rage, but just like, I don't know, just frustration and anger that I've had. And just how I expected things to be or how I wanted them to be, like, when he came out, I just have to accept it as he's trying, he's here, the boys are happy. If he's living 2 hours away, at first I was just like, how are you going to be involved in their life for like appointments, this and that? He's making it work. I'm like, if he wants to drive for 2 hours to come take him, pick him up from school, like whatever, so be it. That's his gas, that's his time. He's making it work. And
so you had to let that control go.
Yeah. And he's like getting them like most weekends now. And I work on the weekends because I have my own business. So we vend at markets. So it's like, I usually only get them during the school week and it's like, we're busy. And I'm like, when I do want to hang out with them, they're like, well, we see you all the time. And it's like, okay, fine, like whatever. So I'm now just kind of realizing I'm at a point that where I just need to focus on me. And it's kind of exciting, but also scary because before I had them as a buffer. Well, I can't focus on me because I got to take care of the boys. But now he's come in and he's like taken over and they want to hang out with him because he's like the shiny new toy or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I really have no excuse to not do me. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, love my sons, love hanging out with them. We have a great relationship. But when it comes down to it, they're, one's 14, one's 11. They're in those teenage years to where they're just going to be selfish and they're not trying to hurt feelings, but they're just thinking about themselves. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, I got to like make sure I'm good. I mean, even I texted him last week and I was like, do you want them like 1 month for the summer? Because now I'm excited to like be by myself, unbothered.
And learn even more about you. Like you said, we're constantly learning and evolving. That's even about ourselves too.
Because they went to camp last year. They went different weeks because of the age. But then my ex, his stepdad actually takes all the grandkids because he has an RV and he takes them for a week. So I had like a week of freedom. And I was like, this is great. I was like, and now the dad's out. And I mean, just even like my ex was texting me earlier. He was just like, hey, when it's, my youngest birthday, it's in June. I wanted to bring him down to the beach. Would you be interested in coming down as well? He was like, I'll pay your expenses. And I was just like, sure. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, I just got to let go of what I wanted. I've got to let go of how I feel. This does not mean we're friends. This means that we are coworkers and we have a job that we have to get done. And we're going to do it to the best of our performance, but yes, I'll come to Charleston on your dime and order crab legs. So that's a lot of like what I've been kind of like battling and dealing with. And so I guess I can see that a lot of times with the women on this show, like they're scared to kind of like, it's scary to sit with yourself and sit with your thoughts. You know what I mean? That's why we distract ourselves a lot. It's like
married or unmarried, in a relationship or
yes, not. No, for sure. Talking, taking it back to breath work, meditation and stuff. There's days where I'm crying. There's days when it's good, but it's like, you just have to take it all.
You just have to take it all because it makes up all those pieces make up the beautiful version, I think, of who we are, Yeah. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate you for coming on, talking about all of this yoga. I'm even more interested in yoga and just all the things. House of Usher, again, people, if you're late like me.
Oh my God, let me tell you about that text. Sorry. Okay.
It's not about the singer Usher.
Okay, the fall of the different. House of Usher is not about ushering. So somebody was listening to the conversation and she was like, girl, I'm dying listening to y'all try to figure out if it's the Vampire Diaries or True Blood. I said, look, I didn't know they were mind controlling over there at the Vampire Diaries, okay? And she goes, and the fall of House of Usher, and I'm going to show you, she put the Usher, watch this. I was like, girl, I was like, girl, not Taria thinking it was an expose on Usher. She was like, I was like, samesies. I was like, why is everyone thinking?
What's your friend's name?
Laura.
Laura, shout out to you, but we was on the same page. When I heard House of Usher, I said,
this is like an expose about people trying to take Usher down.
Girl, if I had to turn that on, I might have been traumatized of what it was really about.
You've been traumatized like the first 5 minutes.
Laura, listen, you saw, I barely watched, I watched Vampire Diaries. That was as far as I could get into the things. That show had got me. I think they compelled me through the screen, Laura. Okay. But yeah, me and Laura was on the same page. I said, they trying to get my boy Usher. Watch this.
I was dying. So dying.
I really thought so. On the podcast I did with Shanika, remember her, Hughes, Hues. She asked me, did I watch the House of Usher? And I told her, child, I thought that was about the singer, like our boy Usher. I didn't know like it was a horror thing. I would have been sorely disappointed. But
it's actually pretty good, but it's not. Look, you ain't gonna get any no dancing, no singing.
I'm not gonna get no confessions, none of that.
No. Well, there's confessions, but not the ones we're thinking about.
See, I'm gonna have to sage on down. But you know what? I'm not disappointed in is this episode and my beautiful guest, Shanika.
Thank you.
Tell everybody, and I'm going to put
yes.
all the links in the descriptions and things, but tell everybody where they can find you.
I mean, I always tell people Google me, Shanika Pichey, Pichey. I'm the only one out there. But you can find me on Instagram at Shanika Pichey. You can also follow Horror Hughes podcast, shanikapichey.com. That's where I have stuff about, my yoga, my services. I also offer Zoom virtual. So if anybody wants just like a consultation, a one-on-one, I can always create like a program for you. So yeah, hit me up there.
And not Kim Zolci at Google Me. I know that.
Oh. Oh my God, she's a mess. Jesus Christ.
Listen, out here scamming folks. But on that note, thank y'all so much for listening,
thank you,
downloading, watching the YouTube. Like I say, I used to say we can get down in the DMs with discourse. Sometimes it's a lot, and I do be trying to respond. Y'all know I love having conversations with y'all, but we can get down in the comments and talk about the different things. As always, make sure if you're respectful, because if you're not respectful, well, then you know how that goes. So y'all, thank you so much again. I hope y'all have a beautiful rest of your week, and we will talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.